26 races down, 10 to go. 16 drivers begin, but only one will have the honor of being crowned the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champion. Today, I'm going to go round by round and predict who I think advances, who gets eliminated, and who will be the champion at season's end. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Here comes the inside. He's got the inside. They touch once, twice. Drag race. Jimmy Johnson.
Whoa! By a fender. Gentleman Jim.
He held him off. Nice job, Jimmy.
What a race by teammates.
Let's begin with who the 16 drivers are that make up the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs. Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, your regular season champion, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, the defending NASCAR Cup Series champion, Alex Bowman, Ty Gibbs, Daniel Suarez, Harrison Burton, Martin Truex Jr., Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, Chase Briscoe, and Brad Keselowski. The three races in the round of 16 include Atlanta, Watkins Glen, and Bristol. When I look at this playoff field and those three tracks, along with how everyone's been performing this season, my first four eliminated isn't that tough. I have Harrison Burton, Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, and Martin Truex Jr. being eliminated. Harrison Burton was 34th in points before winning at Daytona, and Austin Cindric has been nowhere close to the front before or since his win at Gateway in June. Daniel Suarez has been better than the other two, but he was roughly 16th in regular season standings, and while he is the most recent winner at Atlanta, he really wasn't much of a factor in that race until the very end. I know that many will not have Truex out in the round of 16, but Truex has not been at championship level this season. He only has 4 top 5s and 9 top 10s with an average finish of 17.0, along with starting the playoffs as the 16th seed, -1 to the cut line. And while many won't see that as an issue, 1 point in NASCAR can be the difference between making and missing the next round. If that doesn't convince you, then maybe Truex's last 8 finishes will. 24th at Nashville, 33rd at Chicago, 8th at Pocono, 27th at Indy, 37th at Richmond, 24th at Michigan, 24th at Daytona, and 36th at Darlington. There is zero momentum for this team going into the playoffs, which is why I have them being eliminated after Bristol. Moving on to the round of 12, I have Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, Ty Gibbs, and Brad Keselowski being eliminated. The tracks in the round of 12 include Kansas, Talladega, and the Charlotte Roval. While I love the win at Darlington for Chase Briscoe, Stewart-Haas has been so hot or cold this season, and if we look at the results for Briscoe at these tracks earlier in the season and at the other road course races, I don't see him having the speed to keep up with top contenders. Joey Logano is in a similar situation as Briscoe, although the reasoning is hard to determine. We knew that SHR wasn't going to be a real contender this season, and that became more apparent after they announced they were shutting down at the end of the season. But Joey Logano drives for Team Penske, and Penske as a whole, outside of Ryan Blaney, hasn't been their usual selves this season. Joey Logano has an average finish of 18.3 this season and has zero consistency. Since his win at Nashville, he has finishes of 23rd, 5th, 34th, 19th, 33rd, 31st, and 8th in the last 7 races. Most years, Logano would be a round of 16 exit with those stats, but with how bad the competition below him is, I think he gets a pass into the round of 12, but I don't see them turning it around at this point in the season. Ty Gibbs I have being eliminated due to his inexperience in the playoffs. This is his first year, and like many, Gibbs has hardly any consistency and poor finishes at these tracks in the spring. There is, however, one thing that could save Ty Gibbs, and that's his results on road courses this season. At Circuit of the Americas, Gibbs finished 3rd. Sonoma, he was wrecked out and finished 37th, but at Chicago, he rebounded and got another 3rd place finish. Ty Gibbs will probably need to win in order to make the next round, and the Roval may be his best shot at doing so. Brad Keselowski has had one roller coaster of a season, but when I look at his results at Kansas and Talladega in the spring, Brad Keselowski is someone that could easily end up winning their way into the round of 8. A 2nd at Talladega and an 11th at Kansas are respectable, but his road course stats may be the one that sends him home. He has a 33rd at Austin, a 13th at Sonoma, and an 18th at Chicago. RFK came as close as you can to winning a race at Kansas in the spring, and Brad is one of the best at Talladega, so he's going to need to be lights out at both of those tracks if he wants to have a shot at making the next round. To recap, my round of 8 drivers include Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, and Alex Bowman. The round of 8 tracks include Las Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville. This round may be the most heartbreaking, as I can make a case for many of these drivers to be in the Championship 4, but this year I think the cream of the crop is too good to not make the Championship 4. My Championship 4 are Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, and Ryan Blaney. Kyle Larson has been arguably the best driver this season, and based on previous results, Larson could easily sweep this round. In the spring at Las Vegas, he won and finished second at Martinsville, and his resume at Homestead speaks for itself. I know the worries about him overstepping and taking himself out are there, but I think when push comes to shove, Kyle Larson will show everyone why he's the greatest driver in the world. The same can be said about Tyler Reddick. He finished second at Vegas and 7th at Martinsville in the spring, and is really good at Homestead. If Kyle Larson isn't winning these races, expect it to be Tyler Reddick. William Byron was the early favorite to win the title this season, and I think he can emerge once again to be that title contender. We typically have a driver that was really good in the spring fall off in the summer, but get red hot again in the playoffs. And this year, I think William Byron will be that driver. He won at Martinsville in the spring and finished 10th at Vegas, along with having respectable finishes of 12th and 4th at Homestead in the next-gen era. I know that many are going to look at Christopher Bell and have him in based on his season, but we always have that one driver that finds a new level in the playoffs, and I think that Ryan Blaney, much like last season, will come into championship form when it counts. Blaney has been the only shining light for Penske this season, and I think they're going to put as much effort as they can into getting Blaney back to the finale to try and three-peat as champions in the next-gen era. Blaney's stats at Martinsville and Vegas were also really strong, finishing 3rd at Vegas and 5th at Martinsville this spring. My final argument against Bell is that the reliability of Toyota's engines hasn't been there, and while it's mainly been just this summer, I'm not sure I can fully believe that this team won't have a gremlin or two pop up, which could doom their chances at going back to the Championship 4. Some may also want to put Denny Hamlin in the Championship 4, but the stats say he just isn't as good as the other drivers at these tracks. I understand that Denny Hamlin has won 5 times at Martinsville, however the last win was in spring of 2015. He has been close to winning at Martinsville in the next-gen era, but close doesn't get you anywhere in the round of 8. You have to win, and I just don't see the number 11 team stealing a win when the competition is this good. Alex Bowman is my sleeper to make the round of 8, but sadly, I don't see him making much noise. He is, on paper, the worst driver of these 8, but finishing 8th in points is still a really good season. If we were talking about the round of 12 tracks, I would make a case that Alex Bowman could make the final 4. However, these tracks don't show kindly to Bowman, and so I have him missing the final 4. And so it's come down to this: 4 drivers, 1 race, highest finisher is the champion. You can make a real case why all 4 of these drivers could win the title. Kyle Larson has won the championship race at Phoenix before. Granted, it was in a different car, but he has been arguably the best driver this season. Tyler Reddick has also been arguably the best driver this season, and Toyota dominated this race in the spring. Ryan Blaney won last year's title at Phoenix and has been way better than he was last season. William Byron was easily the early season favorite to win the title, despite not winning at Phoenix in the spring. In the end, it all comes down to who I think can win 1 race against the greatest drivers in 2024. My championship prediction for 2024 is Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson is easily the greatest driver of the era, but it's not just him. I think that if Kyle Larson wins this year's title, a lot of credit needs to go to his crew chief, Cliff Daniels. Cliff Daniels, in my opinion, is the best crew chief in the garage right now. When I listen to him, I hear Chad Knaus. Before teaming up with Cliff Daniels, Kyle Larson was a what-if driver, and now we talk about him in the same breath as guys like Max Verstappen, and I think that a lot of it is because every week Cliff Daniels gives Kyle Larson the best car on the grid, and while many might say it's because it's Hendrick Motorsports, many people often forget that a lot of the credit of Hendrick's rise is because of the legendary crew chiefs they had, like Chad Knaus, Harry Hyde, and Ray Evernham. Cliff Daniels, in my opinion, has the potential to become one of the greatest crew chiefs of all time, and I think that he and Kyle Larson will be your 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champions. But now, I want to hear from you. Let me know down in the comments section who you think will be the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champion. While you're at it, I encourage you to like this video and subscribe so you never miss an upload. I hope that you all have a fantastic weekend as Race 1 of the NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs kicks off. Until next time, I'm Morgan Wiebe. Have a good day, everyone.
Here comes
the
Gordon.
inside.
He's got the inside. They touch once, twice. Drag race. Jimmy Johnson.
Whoa! By a fender. Gentleman Jim.
He held him off. Nice job, Jimmy.
What a race by teammates.